Hey everyone, it's James here from MoveData. In this demo video, I'm going to take you through making some really simple customizations to your Salesforce integration, some foundational principles which you'll need to apply whenever you want to customize your integrations. So here we have a donation which has come through. It's created a contact record, also attached to a campaign, and also an opportunity representing the donation. So in this first example, it'll be really fundamental. Basically, there's this field here called lead source, and by default, it's not getting set. It's got a number of values in it. In this example, I'm going to make sure whenever MoveData creates a contact record, it's going to use web as the value for lead source. So to do that, what we do is we open setup and we go to flows. And what you're going to see is a bunch of flows which come pre-installed with MoveData. We are going to click new flow because they're not currently setting lead sources web. So we go auto launch flow, no trigger, and I always use auto layout. And the first thing we need to do is click on new resource. So we've got to have a resource that we're going to be working with. We'll select resource type variable. We'll give the API name a name of record. And in this case, we're going to be passing through the contact record. Mark as available for input and output because we want to set the value for lead source on the contact record. So what we then need to do is click this plus button and we need to add an element. So in this case, there's no real criteria. It's just set lead source as web. So I'll click assignment and I'll say set lead source as web. And I want to set it on the contact record. And the field is called lead source, and I want it to equal web each time and every time. So I hit done, I hit save, and we need to give the flow a name. So this one is going to piggyback off contact mapping. In 99% of the cases, you're just going to be piggybacking off these mapping flows. So I'll give it the same name, and we always write, you can call this whatever you want, but we always say MoveData extension. And we add ext to the end of the API name. Now, you can always access this API name. We always save it at that point in time because you're going to need to use it in a second. So let's activate this flow, and we're nearly there. The second thing we need to do is basically in this flow, we're working with a new field, which is called lead source. So what we need to do is open up contact object manager, and go to contact and go to field sets. And you can see there's a field set which is already created. What we need to do is create a new one for this extension flow, which contains the value of, contains the field rather for lead source. So I'm going to call it MoveData contact field set extension. And where is this used? It's used against this flow. So I've got a new field set, and what I need to do is I need to just put lead source into the field set and hit save. I'm also going to copy the API name for that field set extension. Okay, we're nearly there. So back to setup, we're literally done on the field set. That's all we have to do. And we go to custom metadata types and we scroll down to MoveData pipeline setting and click manage records. Basically what this is doing is you've got a number of flows, which is they're all working together to set different business logic when your records are pushed into Salesforce. And we need to add the new flow and the new field set into the MoveData pipeline settings. So if you recall, we're working with this contact mapping and this contact field set. That's what we created extensions for. So what you want to do is just open each of these up. Obviously, if you're working on campaigns, you'd open the campaign ones up. If you're working on donations, you'd open the donation ones up. And this one is to do with the field set. So I'm going to click clone. I'm going to copy the API name for my field set, and I'm going to paste the API name into the handler so that it's looking at this new field set. I also want to change the MoveData pipeline setting name from 001 to ext and hit save. So now this cloned item is going to be looking at that new field set. And I want to do exactly the same thing for this mapping one, which is looking at the flow. So I'll click clone. I'll grab the API name of my flow. I'll paste that into the handler. I'll change the pipeline setting name from 001 to ext. The only other thing here is that all of the MoveData flows come installed with a sort order of 5. So I'm going to change this to an order of 6. So that means it's going to run after the previous MoveData flow runs. So I'll click save, and this is what you'll be doing in the vast majority of cases. So I've created my flow, I've added my field set, and I've updated the MoveData pipeline settings. Just for reference, we are setting lead source as web on the contact record. So what I can do now is I can hit reprocess. And what that's going to do is it's going to run this donation back through the engine, which now includes this flow which we've built, and it's going to set the lead source as web. So this is currently executing. It's now succeeded. Let's open up our contact in a new tab. And you can see previously the lead source wasn't set. And now lead source is set as web. Okay, so that's a really simple, cool. I always want to set a particular value on a particular field. So this next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add a decision to the logic. I'm going to say, well, hang on, what if someone already has a lead source and it might be, some other value? I only want to set it as web for records who are new, who don't already have a lead source. So to do that, we can add a decision to our flow. And I'm going to call this decision determine lead source. And basically what I want to do is I want to work out, well, hey, does lead source already exist? So one of the outcomes can be yes, lead source exists, or not. So basically here we need to add some conditions to work out if lead source already exists. So what we can do here is we can look at the contact record, and we can look at the field lead source on the contact record. And we can go is null, false. So basically, if there is any value for contact.leadSource, then yes, lead source exists, otherwise it doesn't. So hit done, and now you've got two branches. You've got a branch for yes, lead source exists, and you've got a branch for no, it doesn't. So if the lead source already exists, we don't want to update it. We don't want it to do anything, so we're not going to add anything here. But if it doesn't, we do want to set the lead source as web. So what I'll do here is I'll copy element, because we've just created that logic, and I'll paste the element into this no branch. I will also delete this element, and I will just tidy up the API name. So basically what's happening here is we say, does lead source exist? Yes or no? If it does exist, we don't want to do anything because we don't want to override it. If it doesn't exist, then we want to create it as web. So I'll hit save. Now we don't need to go back to adding a new field into the field sets because we haven't introduced any new fields here. We don't need to make any more entries to the MoveData pipeline because we already did that previously. And now what we can do is we can reprocess this notification again, actually, to test this. Before I reprocess it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the lead source to other. So looking at my flow, determine lead source, it'll say yes, it already exists as other, and it will just end. It won't set it back to web. So let's reprocess. And it's successful, so we can open up the contact record. And we can see that it has retained as other. So through flows, you can introduce some simple decision logic to sort of conditionally set values, which is quite powerful. Okay, cool. So the next example I'm going to do is I am going to use some of the data that's coming in from the source platform to set a particular value on a particular field. So if I open up the opportunity record, I'll close the rest of this and click on details. You can see that I've got a field here for card country. It's just a plain old text field. So if we go into execution, And you can scroll down all the way to, we're working with the donation, with the opportunity, right? So we can scroll down all the way through contact, all the way through campaign, and all the way to donation. And you can see here there are some parameters. So basically these are all the different values we can use when we want to upsert information into Salesforce. So I'm going to scroll through and I'm going to look for the card type, because that's the field I'm trying to set. And I can see here it says card information country equals US. And I want to set US on this card country text field. So what I'll do now is I'll open setup, I'll go back to flows, and the previous flow that we created, it was working with the contact record. So I want to create a new flow which works with the opportunity record. So auto launch flow, no trigger, auto layout, new resource. I'm going to call it record again, and it's going to be a record. And this time it's going to look at the opportunity because that's what we're working with here. And what we want to do is another assignment. We want to go set card country. And we want to set it on opportunity, and the field is card country. And we don't have a value just yet. What we need to do is we need to create a new resource. And basically that resource is going to be card information country, where the value in this example is US. In other examples, it might be AUS or NZ or GB or something else. So new resource, variable. What's really important is that we paste exactly this information into the API name. So data type, it's going to be text because the data is just US, and we mark it as available for input. Record, so opportunity.cardCountry equals whatever's coming through under card information country in this response. So in this case, US. So we hit done. We hit save, and this is a new flow, so we need to give it another name. Excuse me. So I'm going to copy this, enter it in here, just give it some nicer naming conventions. So now I'm going to copy the API name, and we're going to do again, what we did originally. And we will go over to Object Manager, and we'll look up the opportunity because we need to add a new field set so that the flow can access those fields. So new. I'm going to call it MoveData Opportunity Field Set Extension, and it is used on this flow. And I'm going to drag card country into the field set and hit save. I'm also going to go to custom metadata types because we added a new flow and a new field set, and it needs to be incorporated into the MoveData pipeline. So this is exactly as we did earlier. So MoveData donation field set and donation mapping. We are going to clone each of these. Oops, I got to get my field set API name and paste that in. I'm also going to change the pipeline setting name from 001 to ext and click save. And I'm going to do the same thing with the flow. So hit clone, paste the flow API name in as the handler, change from 001 to ext so we can reference it, and again changing the sort order to 6 so that it runs after the previous flow. So that's all done. If I come back to my notification and hit reprocess, previously it wasn't setting any value on the field card country. And what we are expecting here is it's going to come through. It's going to grab the information from card information country, which in this example was US, and it's going to set it on the card country field on the opportunity record. So this has now succeeded. Let's open up our opportunity. Hit details. And we can see that US has been written to card country. So it's going to dynamically look at that, wherever that field was. Card information country. Whatever value is in there, it is going to set it on the card country field on the opportunity record. So now the last one that I'm going to do in this sort of introductory example is I'm going to go back to our flow, and I also want to set this field card type. So it can be Visa, MasterCard, Amex, or other, right? And I can see here that there's this card information type, which is Visa. So in this case, I can go back to my flow, and I don't want to just generally set the value as Visa. What I want to do is I want to create a decision, because, you know, what if you've got American Express in Salesforce and the source platform is setting through Amex? You need to map it accordingly. So what I'll do here is I will create a decision. I'll say determine card type, where we can have Visa, we can have MasterCard, we can have American Express, or the default outcome, right? So, i.e. if it doesn't fit into any of those criteria. So we need to set some conditions to work out if this card is Visa or MasterCard or American Express. So what we can do is we can copy and paste this card information type as a resource. So basically the flows can assess card information type and work out what the value is and through which decision path it should go down. So new variable, we paste in the API name card information type. And in this case, it's lowercase Visa. That's the response. So this is just text. It's available for input. So we've got this new resource, card information type. We can always query what this value is going to be. And for Visa, basically the conditions for it being Visa is when that value equals Visa, spelled V-I-S-A, you know, all in lowercase. I can do the same for MasterCard. So card information type equals MasterCard. And I can do the same for American Express. Card information type equals Amex. So let's hit done. Now I've got these 4 decision paths. So if we come back to our donation opportunity record, card type, it can be one of these 4 criteria. So if we determine the card type, so card information type equals Visa, what I want to do is I want to add an assignment. I want to say set Visa. So what do we want to set? We want to set opportunity and the field card type, and we want to make sure that it selects Visa. And we can copy this element and paste it here into MasterCard. So set MasterCard, when record card type, okay, MasterCard. So it's going to use this value, and we can do the same thing. So I'll copy it and I'll paste it here, and I'll also paste it here again. So when we know the card type is American Express, we want to set it as Amex, and otherwise we want to set it as other. So just to recap, we've got a decision here. We want to determine the type of the card. So we've got this resource card information type, where we know it's going to be, for instance, Visa. So we have this decision outcome, Visa. when that value for card information type equals Visa. Same for MasterCard, same for American Express, and then there's this catch-all, which is going to be other. So that's how we created these 4 branches. And then when the criteria fires, for instance, for it to be MasterCard, it goes down this branch, and we want to set the picklist value on opportunity.cardType as MasterCard. So let me save that and hit activate. We have added a new field here, so record.cardType. So what we need to do before we can reprocess is we need to go into setup. We need to go to object manager. We need to go to opportunity, and we need to go to field sets, and we'll open up this opportunity field set extension that we created earlier, and we want to drag card type into the field set so we can use it as well. We've already added the entries in the MoveData pipeline, so we don't need to do that again. So now what we can do is we can come back to our notification and hit reprocess. So because in this example, we know that the card type is Visa, it will run through this decision outcome for Visa. We'll go through and it's going to set Visa on that pick list for card type, and then it will end. So you can see this is run successfully. If I now pull up the opportunity record, what we are looking for is Visa on card type. And you can see it's now set.